Welcome to episode 50 of Think Big with Michael Zellner. All positive, no politics. My guest today is Towanna Murphy. Towanna is the CEO and founder of WDEM Radio 98.5 FM here in Memphis. WDEM plays the best in blues, R&B, gospel, jazz, talk, and more. She also has been the host of the Towanna Murphy Show for over 10 years now here in Memphis. And starting on Saturday, October 1st, she will be hosting her own television show on CW-30 Network in Memphis every Saturday morning from 10 to 11 a.m. Welcome to the show, Towanna.
Thank you so much, Mike, for having me.
It's my pleasure. So tell us something interesting about yourself that most people don't know.
I'm a jokester. I got jokes all the time. So that's one thing they don't know. And I'll crack a small joke and they're like, did she just say that? Yeah. So I'm a jokester.
You like to keep people laughing.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. That's a very good quality to have.
Laughter is like good for the soul. And sometimes even when it's one of the worst situations, I'll just crack a joke and everybody just start laughing like, this supposed to be serious.
Right. No, absolutely. You know, you take what you do seriously, but you don't take yourself too seriously.
Right. Right.
So you grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and you went to North Division High School, home of the Blue Devils. You know,
yeah.
a really interesting fact about your school that I found out was that Golda Meir, the former Prime Minister of Israel, actually graduated from there.
I heard that a long time ago when I was in high school.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. I didn't know her family came here from from over in Europe to Wisconsin, and when she was in high school, and that's where she went to school. It's really interesting. What do you remember most about your childhood in Milwaukee?
I traveled a lot. My childhood in Milwaukee, I was a captain of a cheerleading squad. I was president of the choir. I was a head dancer for African dance, and we traveled all over the world. So by the time I was 18 years old, I've traveled to Africa, Ghana, China, Florida, danced for the president. And so I actually enjoyed my childhood and enjoyed school, enjoyed just going out and meeting new people. And so that the joys was just being active in high school. And I tell all the kids that I run into, even at my reading program, I tell the kids, you got one time to be a kid. Enjoy being a kid. Because once you get 18, it's over.
Yep. And it's so different now with kids today. I mean, you know, the way their heads are buried in their telephones, they just don't enjoy being a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I have to take it from Ethan every now and then because he's drawn to his tablet. So every now and then I say, Ethan, put that down. Go find something else to do. But I regret saying that, Mike, because he blew up my microwave.
Oh.
Yeah, I regret saying that one. Do something constructive. Well, the constructive was he blew my microwave up.
That's sort of funny.
Mike, I was so mad I didn't know what to do because I thought that he put some aluminum foil in the microwave. So I said, that's the only reason why he blew it up. So all the lights started flickering and I went in there and said, Ethan, what's wrong with my microwave? I said, what? I said, did you blow up my microwave? So I thought that he put the aluminum foil in there. No, he went in there, unscrewed the back of the microwave, switched the wires because he was doing a tutorial. In the tutorial, he mixed the wires up somehow. And when he plugged it back up and put his macaroni and cheese in there, it blew up. And so I asked him, I said, Ethan, I said, what'd you do to my microwave? He said, well, Mom, I was sort of kind of doing a tutorial. And if I would have put the blue wire where the white one was, it would have been okay. But never to fear, I'll fix it. No, you can't fix it. It's gone. So I grabbed my purse, Mike, and he looked at me. He said, Mom, where are you going? I said, I'm going to Walmart. Because I got to buy a new microwave.
Yeah. Thankfully, they're not bad these days compared to when they first came out, you know, when they were super expensive, but still either way, like I said, that's sort of a funny story there in a way. You got to laugh a little bit at it.
Yeah, but I was heated.
Yeah. At least he's creative.
Yeah. That's what happens when you tell him to put the tablets down. He going to find something else to get into.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He did my TV like that too.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So You went to college at Bryan and Stratton College up in Milwaukee. You got your associate's degree, for medical clinical assistant, and you taught at a few colleges here over the last 20 years in the medical field. You've been a CPR instructor for over 13 years now. What made you choose that career early on?
Because my mom was epilepsy, and I would watch her have a lot of seizures when I was young. And her first few seizures that I witnessed, I ran out the room because I was scared because I didn't know what was going on. But then when I got older, like 10, 11 years old, then I kind of, figured out what was going on and how to help her when she had a seizure if I was at the house. And so that kind of pushed me into going into nursing.
Wow. I know that I can't imagine being a little kid and seeing that.
I was frightened. I was scared the first few times I seen it. But moving into 12 or 13 years old, and I was like, okay, what do I do when she have one if I'm the only one here? And so the paramedics trained me and showed me what to do, if she had another seizure, if I was the only one in the house. And so that's how I went into the medical field.
What ended up making you decide to move to Memphis?
I was married. I got married and he got a job here in Memphis. And 2 years later, we got divorced.
Oh, okay.
Happy New Year.
What year did you move down here?
2007. Yeah, 7.
How was the transition? How was the transition when you got here?
The transition was smooth. It was good because I had already had a job lined up. So it wasn't that bad with the transition. They moved us here. And so we stayed in a small little 2-bedroom apartment when we first got here. And that's where we stayed until everything picked up. But we was kind of still there when I even left and got divorced. He was still there, but I left and moved into a house, and then that's when I started teaching at the colleges.
How and why did you choose to go into radio and TV, as a talk show host after starting off in the medical career?
Oh, it was a mistake.
Tell me about it.
I before moving to Memphis and getting married, I was the assistant to a magazine, and I would work as a stage manager for Church of God in Christ and for the Baptist convention. And so then I started working with this magazine. And so working with the magazine and traveling with the magazine, I was just working. And so one day I went to the NAACP award show here in Memphis. And some of the artists and some of the not national gospel artists I've already known because I've worked with them. And so the lady that was supposed to be the host, she got into a car wreck and she couldn't make it. And so Michael Moore asked me to host it. And I said, no, I'm not a host. He was like, you can do it. You know all the artists. And I'm like, I'm not a host. I'm not doing this. And so he was like, I'll give you 3 questions and you just ask those 3 questions. We just need somebody to interview the artists when they come off the stage. So I was like, oh, I ain't doing this. Nope, I'm not doing it. Nope. I'm supposed to work the stage. Nope. And so he said, please, we're going to do it. So I was like, okay, fine. Michael Stephen Moore did. So I said, fine, I'll do it. And so they gave me the mic and they asked me, and I didn't know that the guy that was working the mic was Tony Irie from WREG Radio. And so he was the filmer. He was filming me. And they were instructing me how to ask the questions. And so once I got my first artist to come over there, which was Lisa Knowles, and she was the first one to come to me. And she was like, hey, Towanna. And I was like, hey. And so we just started talking. I forgot all about the questions because I was too busy talking. Right. And so the interview started to flow like that. So every artist that came out to interview with me, I knew them already. So it was an easy transition for me. And so right after that, and we got done with those interviews for the night, Tony Irie from WREG Radio called me the next day. He said, you want to be a radio host? And I said, no, that's not what I want to do. No, I ain't doing it. So he's like, come on, you can do it. I was like, no, I ain't doing it. So he waited about 2 months later and then he called me. He said, Towanna, you want to be a radio host? I said, no. I said, I'm not doing it. He said, come on, girl, you can do it. I said, no. So he waited another 30 days. He said, Towanna. I said, okay, because you keep calling me. And so that's how I got into radio. So then I was the radio host for WREG Radio. And then it moved on from there.
It's amazing how I talk a lot about how I don't believe in coincidence. And
Mhm.
that one night changed the whole course of your life.
It did, whole course. Everything just shifted from there.
What a great story. You're
Yeah.
also a singer and you started singing at the young age of 9 years old. What songs were you singing back in the early 80s when you were 9?
Gospel. I was born and bred in gospel. And so I sung church music. My very first song that I sung, and I didn't want to sing, but my grandma kept pinching on me. She made me sing it. But it was called the Robin song. I think it was by the Williams brothers or something. Everybody ought to praise his name, be thankful. And yeah. So I had to sing that song and I was mad.
Were you singing in church and at home too?
I sung it at church, but my mama made me sing it at home because I had to rehearse it to be ready for Sunday.
Oh, okay. So that got
And
you going there early on.
early on. So that's how I started singing, because I was singing because my mom is a singer. My mom used to sing background for B.B. King before he hit it big.
Wow.
And so she was a background singer for him, and she used to hang out with the Jackson Fives. And her boyfriend was and I didn't even find out that till later, that my mama used to date David Ruffin.
Wow.
When they all used to hang out in the sets in Indiana. I had no clue. So
Very
that's
cool.
how I ended up singing.
You once said, quote, behind every smile, there's a story. Behind this smile came pain, abuse, assault, hurt, disappointments, homelessness. People that I thought was my friends turned their backs on me. Hurt I feel is real, but I kept pushing. Behind this smile comes victory, an overcomer, survivor, winner, a woman that will not let anything or anyone stop me from reaching my goals, unquote. Everything that you've gone through has made you stronger, hasn't it?
It has. It has. And it's brought me to this moment. And I had to learn to, sometimes everything don't need a response. And I was so on a defensive about everything that I had experienced here. I stayed on the defense. So I thought everybody was out to hurt me. So I kind of like put a shell in and just locked in. And it's like, I'm not gonna do it. So I was snappy at everybody because of what I had experienced.
Right.
But when I learned later on, recently, that when you stay quiet, you get more out of that. When you just don't respond. And when I realized that not responding got me more than what I had, then I'm like, oh, okay, this is a new trick here. And so not responding got me to where I am now.
Awesome. So you were known as the Princess of Radio. How did you get that name?
Southern Soul. I was a blues jockey. Southern Soul and blues jockey. I was playing Southern Soul and blues, and that's how I started out on this radio station with my own, because I started out with Southern Soul and blues, and I am a Muddy Waters fan. My mom brought me up on Muddy Waters, so I'm a Muddy Waters fan. I love all types of blues. My mama was just a blues thing. What is his name? It's on the tip of my tongue. And a funny thing, I spoke at his son's funeral. Oh, I can't remember his name. It's on the tip of my tongue, but he just died a few years back. And and they asked me to speak at his funeral. And I said, me? And they was like, yeah, you. And I was like, oh, okay. I forgot his name. Everybody, when it comes to me, I'm gonna tell you. But
You'll remember. Yeah.
I remember, but when it comes to me, I'm gonna tell you. But my mom was a blues woman. She was a Tyrone Davis fan. And so I grew up on Tyrone Davis and Miles Davis and Muddy Waters and Albertina Walker, which is gospel. So all of the old school greats, my mama, I grew up off.
There was such a great blues club here in the late 80s. I don't know if you remember. It was called Lou's Place. It was down on Front Street, not too far from Union Avenue. It was just a small little hole in the wall on Front Street. And I used to go in there with some friends of mine. We used to go in there late at night, and because it was open till like 3 or 4 in the morning, and just listen to some great blues music. It was just so much fun. I remember that place really well. So I love the blues myself.
Yeah, I like the blues. And I'm young, but I like the blues.
Yeah.
I'm not good on the rap stuff because I don't know what they're talking about in the rap game. I have no idea. I got an older son who is 29 years old. He lives in Illinois. And one day he was playing this song, and he's like, and he was jumping around the house, and I'm looking at him. I'm like, Denzel, what you doing? And he was like, what is a dance? I say, look like you're having a seizure. And he's like, no, that's a dance. And so I'm listening to this song, and I said, what are you listening to? And he told me what it was, but it went out of one ear, in one ear, out the other, because I was like, I don't know what he's saying. And so he's like, Mom, you don't know what he's saying? I said, no, it sounds like you're talking about a cheeseburger. Quarter pounder cheese. I said, I don't know what he's saying.
So I saw, go ahead, I'm sorry, finish up.
No, go ahead.
So I saw where you have a pretty famous cousin that you took a great picture with recently. Tell us about the Penny Hardaway that you know.
Well, my mom was adopted when she was 5 months old. And about 20 years ago, we couldn't find her birth certificates. And we kept looking for her birth certificates under the name that she has right now. And we kept looking for it and looking for it, and we couldn't find it. And so one day, my mom said, I found my birth certificate. I called this place and I found my birth certificate, and somebody sent it to her. She paid for it, sent it to her. And so when we actually got the birth certificate, we looked at the birth certificate, and her name was Hattie Millbrooks. And we was like, Hattie Millbrooks? And so it told us her daddy name was Solomon Millbrooks, and her mother name was Doretha White. And so I was like, so these are not real families? She said, well, these are all the family we know, because right. This is, took us in when I was 5 months old. And so the Ratliffs is what we grew up on, because my maiden name is Ratliff. And so when we found out who she was, then we started searching for her brothers and her sisters, because now we know, okay, we know somebody now. She got a family. And so we searched for her dad. And when we searched for her dad, we found her brother. And when we found her brother, we found her sister. But her sister was living down here in Forest City, Arkansas. But her brother was living in Milwaukee at the time. And so when we started researching more, I found my Uncle Flynn. I have an uncle named Flynn. And Carl Flynn was telling me, well, you're some kin to the Hardaways. And I said, how we kin to the Hardaways? So he said, the Hardaways are descendants from Millbrooks. And I said, explain. He said, your great-grandfather and Penny Hardaway's grandmother are brother and sister. And I said, oh. He said, and that is how you're connected to the Hardaways. So Penny Hardaway is my second cousin. And then G.A. Hardaway is my second cousin. So then I started finding all the other Hardaways. And then I found the bodies. The bodies was Hardaways. And I was like, oh, okay. And so my great auntie is Penny Hardaway's grandmother, great auntie. And so that's how we start connecting everything together.
What kind of a relation? Do you have a relationship with him? Were you able to talk to him sometimes?
Yeah, we talk. We don't talk like we should, but we do talk. I hung out with him at the OJ's concert, and really didn't tell him in depth. He knows we're cousins, but then I told him in depth how, and he was like, oh, okay. That's cool. Because I'm still finding cousins and the Millbrook side and the Hardaway side. So I'm still finding everybody. But in the sense, we're still Ratliffs, because that's who raised us.
I bet he has to be a little bit reserved sometime, because I'm sure there's a lot of people reaching their hand out wanting things from him.
Mm-hmm. And family is like that. Family is like that. When they find out that you are, a celebrity, then they want to reach their hands out to us. And even with me, I got some family members call me and say, oh, she got some money. I said, they don't know I'm broke, but okay. Okay, I'm let them think it. And so with celebrities such as Penny Hardaway, we do have some family members that's probably gonna try to leech off of him because right. He's a family member, oh, he rich, or he this, or he this. And so with me, it's like, no, we family, let's kick it. I'll pay for your meal. I know you got money, but I'll pay for your meal. So that's how I look at it. I don't look at it as let me leech off my cousin. Right. He made his way, I made my way.
Awesome. So back on March 16th of 2018, you're driving down Elvis Presley Boulevard here in Memphis, and you see this elderly woman driving a motorized scooter down the street. And I think your protective mode took over and you started following her to make sure that she was okay. And you took video of the event and it went viral. It was viewed over 300,000 times. It even ended up on Jimmy Kimmel Live. And you said, quote, "Really, Jimmy Kimmel? He aired my video. Well, I am national now. Unquote." Tell us a little bit about that day and what happened.
You know what? Me and Ethan was in the car. I had picked him up and we were on the E-way. And so it was crowded. And I said, we got to get off. And so we got off. And when we got off on Brooks. And we were headed towards Elvis Presley. And so we going towards Elvis Presley. I passed Elvis Presley. And so I'm down the middle of Brooks because I'm going towards 3rd Street. So I'm halfway to 3rd Street on Brooks. And I see this lady on this scooter. And so Ethan said, "Mom, you see a lady on the scooter?" And I'm turning, I was like, "Yeah, I seen her." So I got to the light and I'm getting ready to turn around. So I blow at the man that was, I was making a U-turn because I seen her. So I make a U-turn and the man, I was blowing a horn at him. And I was like, "You see that lady on the scooter?" He said, "I called 911, a few blocks down." I said, "You already called the police?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, let me get on the side of her because somebody gonna hit her." Right. So when I got on the side of her, that's when I started filming because they weren't even paying her no attention. She almost got hit 3 times prior to me getting on the side of her. And so I got on the side of her to try to protect her because they was trying to hit her. Even the other people, I kept saying, "Y'all go around. I know y'all see this lady. Right. Go around her. Y'all gonna see, y'all gonna kill this lady." And so I just stayed behind her. I tried to get her to get in my car and I was gonna put her walker in the car, but she wasn't trying to hear me. She was gone. She was headed to Chicago. Wow. She was out of here. And so by the time we got to the E-way, I said, "Oh my gosh, she get on the E-way." But before she got on the E-way, she ran out into that Elvis Presley traffic. And one of the trucks had to kind of swerve over because they almost hit her. And that's when I started screaming. And I was like, "Oh, they're gonna kill this lady." And so there was another truck that was on the right-hand side of me. He blew his horn and let me over. So, because he seen I was trying to protect her. So he kind of waited and then put his hand like that to wave me in and come get her. And so he let me through. So I got around and tried to get on the side of her again. And so once I got back on the side of her, she was headed to the expressway. She was on her way going in. I said, "Oh, this lady here." I said, "Oh Lord, this lady. And so I got back behind her. And then there were people yelling at me because they didn't see the lady in front of me.
Right.
It was behind me yelling and they was cussing me out. I said, "Don't y'all see this lady? There's a lady on the scooter." And so there was a man that had a truck. I said, "Get on the side of me and try to get on the side of her so she won't go out into the traffic on the left-hand side. Because if she'd got out on the traffic on the left-hand side, they would have hit her. They would have just killed her. She'd have been dead." So by that time, the police were already called and they must have knew that I was headed that way because they was following me on the live. And so the police was ahead of us. And so when we got to the police, I think that's my phone died. We got to the police and police trying to stop her. She drugged the police. They was holding on. And then the part that y'all didn't see is when my phone went off, she was dragging them. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, go kill him." She was dragging the police. I said, "Oh, this lady gonna kill him." So it took another police officer to stop her. And then the truck that was on the side of me, we kind of blocked her in so that we can stop her completely. And so that's how we end up stopping her.
Scary situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, Tawanna, you lost a friend of yours earlier this year who was also beloved in Memphis and well beyond, Bobby OJ. And you said, quote, "I'm sitting here at all for words, and it took me a whole day to even respond. This hit home for me. I met Bobby OJ when I was 10 years old in Milwaukee. Bobby didn't recognize me because I'd gotten older. What you didn't know is Bobby OJ and I would talk for hours. He would give me insight on what I should do. Bobby told me I was stubborn and mean." Laugh out loud, unquote. Tell us about Bobby OJ.
Bobby OJ was a weird guy. Bobby OJ was weird. Even when I knew him in Milwaukee, he was weird. And so when I moved here to Memphis, I didn't know about WDIA. And so one day I was over there and I was like, "Who's WDIA?" And then he was like, "Bobby OJ." And I was like, "I know Bobby OJ. But I had never spoke to him before. And I said, Ethan, so I didn't know who Bobby OJ was. And so Ethan about to get it.
I hear him.
He about to get it. Interrupted me. He about to get it. And so one day I seen Bobby OJ. We was in the grocery store, and that's when I seen him. And I was like, Bobby OJ. And he was like, do I know you? I said, yeah, you know me. I said, you don't remember me, but you know me. And he's like, from where? And I said, Milwaukee. I said, I was 10. And I said, you probably don't remember me. But then we started talking about different stuff in Milwaukee and different landmarks and stuff like that. And I was telling him about Reggie Smooth's Butter Brown. And he was like, oh, okay, now I know you. So then we started talking, and we would talk periodically about different stuff. And sometimes we'll talk. I met him in I think I met him a third time. It was right after Sharon died. And I met him about 2 weeks after that, and we just sat and talked. We drank some coffee and we just talked, and he was just telling me about the business and what needs to happen in the business. And he's like, sometimes one is cutthroat. He said, this business we're in, it's a cutthroat business. He said, and you just have to be mindful, and you have to watch the people that you're around. He said, I know you got into some trouble a while back. He said, but it's a learning situation. You learn from it, you grow from it, and you change from there. He said, and I know you were kind of bitter about what happened and you were snapping back. He said, I watched it all. I watched everything you did. He said, but because you were angry still, he said, but you have to forgive and move on. He said, forgive and just move on. And that's how you get through it. He said, and just stay focused. If you stay focused, everything will come into fruition. And those are some of the things that Bobby OJ would tell me.
That's some great advice he gave you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you recently just had your first national commercial for Boost Mobile. How did that come about?
I was actually at a meeting with James Harvey. James Harvey invited me to this meeting a few weeks ago, and he said, I just need you to come and meet some great people. And I said, who? And he said, just come. He said, there's some great people I need you to meet, and some people want to meet you anyway. And I told him that I knew you personally. And he said, some people was like, dang, you don't know Towanna Murphy. He was like, yes, I do. She coming to this meeting. And so he said, can you please come to the meeting? Because I got some great people that really want to meet you. And I said, okay. So I go to the meeting, I start talking to different people. And then I met one of the national people from Boost Mobile. And we were talking about my TV show because Harvey had mentioned I had a TV show. And he said, Harvey was talking about you. And I was like, yeah. He said, well, maybe we need to talk sometime and I'll do some advertising on your show. And I said, okay. I wasn't sure about going to CW at first because they hadn't, made that finalized yet. So I was just talking about SVP. And so a week after we found out I was going on CW-30, he called me out the blue and said, I'm ready to advertise with you. And he was like, you want to do the commercial? I was like, sure, I'll do the commercial. And so from there, we've been working together. We shot the first commercial. It should have been ready today, but maybe it'll be ready tomorrow. But he's going to post it on social media, probably when we get it tonight or tomorrow.
That's awesome. So Towanna, you're also friends with former president of the Memphis Police Association, Mike Williams. You recently joined him on his show, Memphis 360. When previewing the show, he said, quote, I am sick of criminals and crime. Are you? Unquote. I've seen a lot of the things you posted. I know that you're tired of a lot of this stuff too. What do you believe are a few of the positive things that we can do in our community to reduce violent crime?
I always go back to educating our kids, having more things to do in our community for our kids. We have maybe one or two YWCAs. We need more community centers that's going to help our kids, cater to our kids, find events for them to do, find things that they can do that's constructive, like art classes, dance classes, math classes, something that they can do, something they can participate in, because our kids have nothing to do. And if they have something to do and something positive and have some positive role models in their lives, that'll change the momentum of the city tremendously. Instead of us being afraid of them, we need to embrace them and bring them into the folds. And if we bring them into the folds and they know that we're not afraid of them, they'll grab a hold to it. Eventually, because North Division, what you was talking about, North Division is a hood school, right, in the middle of the ghetto. and I hear all of us, these ghetto kids going to this school. But out of this school, Mike, we got lawyers, doctors, talk show hosts, presidents. We got people that's and one Jermaine Osley, he played for Memphis Grizzlies. We have basketball players, professional, but it came out of this ghetto school with all these ghetto kids. But we had teachers that cared about us. We had teachers that pulled our collars. We had teachers that made us be men and women. We had teachers that were strict on dress code, what we wear, how we wear it. We couldn't come to prom with our back out. We couldn't come to prom with our chest out. We couldn't come to prom and the dresses were too short. The guys couldn't come to prom without a suit jacket, a tie, pants on, a nice shirt and some shoes. They couldn't come to prom with steppers on and tennis shoes on. We had a dress code. And so our teachers made us be respectful of each other. And if we have that here in Memphis and show them this is what a young lady's supposed to be, this is what a young man's supposed to be. They don't have, some of these kids don't have home training.
Right.
But if they get it from somebody that really cares about them, we have teachers that will come to our house and get us, and if we have leaders like that, we can minimize the crime and violence in our city. They just got to know that somebody cares about them.
That's why I think Mike would have made a great mayor, of Memphis, and he just did not have the money behind him, 8 years ago when he ran, and he and I and Amy Spiropoulos and Sherry Hopper recently talked about this on a podcast, and I asked them, do you think that the city leaders are ready to do something about this? And everybody said no.
No.
Because everybody talks a good game when something like this unfortunately happens, and it goes on for a little while, and then people move on until it happens again. And I think that you hit the nail on the head there, is that people, if we don't get into the communities where these kids are and help them, some of these kids see no way out. Yeah. And a lot of them, they don't develop that empathy and that, that conscious when they're young, because they don't have anything. And then you see what happens a lot of times because of that. Yeah.
And it happens. I have a summer reading program, and my summer reading program is called Project Let's Read. And from June 1st to August 3rd, I teach kids from kindergarten to 6th grade, basic reading, basic math, penmanship, and cursive writing. And I came to Memphis first. It's for Memphis and West Memphis.
Right.
But it would have been stationed in Memphis, but Memphis didn't want it at the time. So that's why I ended up in West Memphis, because they wanted it. And this is my second year with the reading program. And the change in those kids is tremendous. I mean, I have parents calling me saying, hey, my daughter was getting D's in class, and now she's getting A's and B's. I see her attitude has changed. She's more out there. She's outspoken. She wants to learn, because I teach them kids in my reading program that, it's about changing your attitude. You got to have a positive attitude about learning. They're already having a problem with reading and writing, but it's all about how you perceive it. And so with my kids, I give them different scenarios, or I teach a different way. I don't teach like other teachers teach. I teach way off the box. And the kids be like, Miss Murphy, really? I said, that's how you're going to get it. That's how you're going to remember it. If you do it this way, I swear you're going to remember it. And so they remember things that I've taught them. And so I go back and look at their grades and look how they're progressing in school. Even some of the kids here, how they're progressing in school that took my summer reading camp, they're doing well. They scored well on a state test. In West Memphis, those kids did well. I have some kids from Marion, they did well on that testing, and how their attitude has changed. And every time I go check on them or call the parents, like, oh, she got a B on this one. Oh, she got an A, and so it works. But the parents have to be, I would say, committed to bringing them, because we have some parents that will start bringing them and then they'll stop.
Right.
And they won't bring them. And some of the kids will come and they're hungry. You can't learn on an empty stomach. So when they would come, I will provide them with breakfast, and I will provide them with lunch and make sure they eat. And some of the kids, I will send food home with them, and I pay for it out of my own pocket. I will send them food home with them so they could eat. And that is what got us through for the summers throughout the whole reading summer camps. I think in West Memphis, I had about 156 kids between the 2 years with teaching math, reading, and even some science, because they'll come in and ask questions off the wall questions like, where you get that from? I said, well, let me find out what this is, and so I'll find it, look at it, and then I'll explain to them what it is, but I made learning fun for them. And so if you make learning fun, it changes the momentum of them learning. It changed the atmosphere in the room. So I had a great summer with them this year. I had a great summer with them last year. And I'm looking forward to having another great summer with them next year.
Now, I saw where Fox 13 Memphis picked up on that, and had a couple of different features on you with that. And that you started that because of, COVID, because a lot of these kids and their learning thing, they didn't learn because they, weren't in school. And I think you even mentioned that there's some kids didn't even know how to, do syllables.
No, they didn't know what syllables was. And so it's a way that I teach syllables, and so the kids like, we don't know about syllables. I said, well, let me teach you something. Teach you something about syllables. It's easy. And I was like, summer. And I was like, how many syllables is summer? And they was like, summer. And I'm like, summer. And they was like, I said, do it again. Summer. I said, how many times did you clap? They said 2. How many syllables is it? 2. You got it.
Awesome.
And that's how I teach syllables. Even with Ethan, when I was teaching him syllables, and he was like, but that's a short word. How could it be 2 syllables? I said, Ethan, even though it's just 5 letters, you still got 2 syllables. He was like, oh, okay, Mom. So even I taught him that way too, how to break them down in syllables. And so when we do syllables at school, that's how they remember. So one of the teachers called and she said, Ms. Murphy, I was working with one of the kids and we were working on syllables. And I was asking her how many syllables was the word. And she kept clapping. And she said, why are you clapping? She said, because that's how Ms. Murphy taught us how to do syllables. And so she said she used that tactic with her kids now. And
making
so
a
it's
very
cool
positive impact.
Yeah. I had to change me in order to make positive change in our city. I had to change me, and changing me means they see a positive Towanna. They see a positive Towanna. They'll want to make that change, that everything don't have to be negative in life. You can change it if you're willing to change it.
Absolutely. You've had a chance to meet a lot of prominent and famous people in your life, including recently R&B artist Porcelain, who's been guided and supported by soul legend David Porter. And one of my favorite groups of all time is the Barkays.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your encounters with them.
Porcelain, I just met her, and she is an amazing young lady. We talked for about 20 minutes at an event the other day, and I'm going to have her on my show too. She's going to come and be one of my guests. I got to have you too, Mike. So you can come here live and in person. So I'm about to bring you in. And so I talked to her, and we were just talking about different things in music and art. And I told her I was going to bring her on. So I am going to bring her on in the future. But we just talk about stuff that goes on in the R&B and music industry. And so I like her. I like her spirit. I like her vibe. She's a really good person. The Barkays, they drive me crazy. That James Alexander drive me crazy. James Alexander. But James Alexander has introduced me to so many greats, like Roland Martin. And when I met Roland Martin, he's like, Towanna Murphy, this is Roland Martin. Roland Martin, this is Towanna Murphy. And I was like, oh, I get to meet Roland Martin. And so I was excited about meeting Roland Martin. Then I met SOS Band, and then I end up meeting, who else I met? All the Way Live. It's All the Way Live. I can't say the name right now, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do.
I met them, but the biggest, the one that I really cherished the most that I've ever met out of a celebrity was Naomi Judd. I enjoyed her. I met her. She was genuine. She was nice. We sat down in the lobby and talked for hours in Washington, D.C. And I didn't think that she would be that kind of person because, hey, she's a national country singer all over the world. This is Naomi Judd. What she want to talk to Towanna for? And she started calling me what's the name? Jessica the Rabbit, because I had on a red dress. So she kept calling me Jessica the Rabbit. But to talk to her and listen to how she gets started and where she came from. And then we just talked about everything. She wasn't acting like she was better than anybody else. She just sat on the couch and talked to me. We sat for hours. We talked to almost 1 o'clock in the morning. And that was one of the best experiences of my life, just to sit there and talk to Naomi Judd.
You once said, quote, "I'm grateful for what God has done in my life, the good, bad, and ugly," unquote. You have succeeded despite, a lot of obstacles thrown in your way. How have you been able to stay focused and sometimes refocus through those times?
I had to keep God first. And even when it gets bad for me, I start meditating, giving myself time so I won't make the wrong decisions. And I stop thinking on impulse. Because sometimes I would jump on impulse, like, oh, no. But now when things happen, it's like, okay, Towanna, take a moment, breathe, sit back, relax, and just think about stuff. So I start meditating, and then I just start just keeping God first and everything. And I'll say, okay, God, here we go again. What do I do next? And so I talk to God on a regular. Most people say they'll get in their little corners and pray. Nope, I could be walking down the street talking to God like, okay, God, here you go again, what I'm gonna do. And so it's just, and then having people in your corner that really keeps you focused. You got to have positive people in your corner that's going to tell you when, no, don't do that. That's not the right move. So I had people in my corner that was really telling me, Towanna, that's not the right move. Just stay still, stay quiet, and just wait on God to do what he's going to do, because he's going to do it anyway. And so just to have positive people just to keep me focused.
Great. Who are the few of the interviews that you've done on radio and television that had a big impact on you?
Jacqueline Carr, of course, Naomi Judd, Al Green. I
love Al Green.
Yes, Donnie McKirkland, Kirk Franklin. I interviewed the Clark sisters. Oh man, it's so many. It's so many people that I could mention that's up there.
Right.
And it's like, man, okay. So I get excited when I meet Bobby Rush, so I can call Bobby Rush on his phone and he'll pick up for me. It's like, Towanna, what you need? So it's, Mike, it is amazing to meet people that you've never thought you meet before, to grace the stage or even sit next to or have lunch with people that you never thought you would be able to eat lunch with. The mere fact that I had the opportunity to sit next to David and Tamala Mann and eat lunch with them, that was an amazing time for me. And I was still at awe that I'm sitting here with David and Tamala Mann eating lunch. And they're not treating me no different. They're not acting funny. They're just here and they treat me like I'm everybody else. And with Karen Clark Sheard and Bishop Sheard, just to sit at the table with them and have dinner, that right there, it says a lot about who I am, where I've come from. And just to know that God is still in the midst of everything. So no matter how bad it looks, God's like, oh, it's an opening here. You just got to not show out so you can get it.
You have a music career yourself. This past spring, you got signed to D&D Music Group, Universal Records, and iGrooves. Tell us how that came about for you and some of the people that, that helped you, in your singing career.
That was a mistake too.
A good mistake.
That was a mistake too, Mike. That was a mistake. I was Big John Cummings. I don't know if you know who Big John Cummings is.
I know the name.
Yeah, my favorite song is Two Men Mechanics Working on Your Car. And so he had a birthday party and he invited me to the birthday party. And so I was sitting there, I'm mad at my own business, Mike. I ain't messing with nobody. I'm drinking my Paul, my son, mad at my own business. just listening to everybody sing. And so Big John Valentine, who was in charge of all the music, he came over there on his break and who was messing with me because he was just calling people up there to sing. And so he came over there messing with me, and I said, I'm not in the mood for you today, John Valentine, leave me alone. And he kept saying, Towanna, you can't sing. I said, I can sing a little. Can't sing like y'all, but I can sing a little. And so, you can't sing? I said, yes, I can. And so when he came back from break, he got up there and he said, I'm gonna bring Towanna Murphy to the stage. I said, who told him that? Come on, show me what you got. Since you said you can sing, come on. So I got up there and I sung. And then when I started singing, everybody's mouth dropped open like, this girl can sing a little bit. I said, I told you I can sing a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit. And so from that point, Big John Cummings kept calling me again. Here I go with this. Here's this thing again. Towanna come sing? Nope. Towanna come record? Nope. Towanna go? Nope. 7 months. I kept telling him no. And so he tricked me. He called me one day and said, I need you to come sing background for me. And I said, okay. So I go over there where he is in the studio. He said, just sing these parts. So I'm singing parts. And so we're playing. I'm thinking, we playing, they put me in the mic. So they said, sing this part right here to this song. So I'm singing the part to the song. Okay, sing this part right here. So I'm singing the part to the song. And when I got done, I said, what else you need? He said, nothing. And he said, push play. And they push play. He said, Curtis, what you hear? I said, oh, y'all dirty for this one. They done recorded a whole song on me. I'm thinking I'm helping out.
Right.
And I got mad. And I was cussing, Mike. I ain't gonna tell you, I cussed it and grabbed my purse and got in the car because I was that mad. And from there, I started recording.
Wow.
And that's how I got into music. You know, when I got into D&D, because I sung a song, I re-recorded a song by Natalie Cole. And it's called Can't Say No If He Asks Me. And they heard that and they liked what they heard. And that's how I got to D&D Music Group. But before then, I was signed to Brimstone. Brimstone liked the song that I sung called, I forgot. I forgot the name of the song. But anyway, that's how I got signed there. And then when that contract was up, I ended up getting signed to them. So I'm on a year contract with them right now.
So on November 27th of 2019, you got the contract to your new radio station, WDEM 98.5 FM, now covers over 1 million listeners. That must have been such an exciting day for you in such a time.
Mike, I would say the pandemic helped me, because when the pandemic hit, everybody was listening to internet radio. So that opened the door for me. I was already there, but I wasn't there like I needed to be, like all the other radio stations. I wasn't there, but when the pandemic hit, I was there because everybody went into internet radio. And that's how all the numbers start building up. And I was like, oh, there it is. I was already there, but it took the pandemic to get me there. And so that's how, and now I internet center be acting crazy over here. I don't know what's going on. I go in and go out. I don't know what's wrong with our internet station. It's crazy. It's not my internet station. It's the internet.
Right.
AT&T doing something over here. Whatever they do on our internet, come in, then they go out. Then they come in to go out. I don't know what they doing. They messing up over here. But it's still, that's how I end up with those listeners because of the pandemic. The pandemic helped me.
Most recently, and I mentioned earlier, you're now about to go mainstream and start your own television show on Saturday, October 1st, from 10 to 11 a.m. on CW-30 Memphis. That's really awesome. Tell the audience about your new show and how that happened.
You know what, Mike? It happened by mistake. Here we go again, by mistake. And it happened because Ethan had a interview, not so per se, with John on ABC 24. They had Ethan come over to be the junior meteorologist for a few, because Ethan is good with weather. He knows the weather like the back of his hand. And so he knows what Celsius is and Fahrenheit and tornadoes and hurricanes and thunderstorms and all that stuff. Anything you want to know about weather, Ethan can tell you. And so I took him over there and we were talking about the weather. And so Rudy and Otis Stafford, well, Otis wasn't there, but Rudy was saying, Towanna, when you gonna get your own stage, your own show over here? I said, what, y'all gonna pay me? I said, I came over here to watch Ethan get excited about being a meteorologist. He's like, need a show over here. And I'm like, I think about it, Rudy. And so I was talking to Rudy and them over there. And after a while, I ended up getting a phone call. And that phone call, I was like, I'm thinking about it. And then I called her back and I was like, what kind of time slots y'all got? And so she was telling me the time slots. And she said, actually, on Saturdays, 10 to 11 is a prime time slot. And that slot wasn't open. You're actually filling a slot that was held by a major talk show host. And I was like, oh, okay. So she said, we just gonna plug you in that one. And that's how I end up with it.
What are your plans for the show?
To highlight Memphis, not just local, but national and international, but mainly to focus on what we do here in Memphis. You know, some of the great foods that we have, some of the great entertainments that we have, some of the great talk show hosts that we have, you know, some of the great radio hosts that we have, you know, even bringing the ladies in from WDIA and from B101, you know, and from 95.7 so people can see them, you know, and just bringing in different things, different women, different men, and what we do in the city, politics, of course, and just try to keep it positive, but still keep people in order, let them know, no, this ain't what we're going to do.
Right.
Because it's always a way to correct people and tell them when they're doing something wrong and when they're doing something right. And everybody knows I'm going to tell you. If you're wrong, I'm going to tell you wrong. But I learned how to say it in a way that it's not disrespectful, it's not hurting anybody's feelings, but you need to get this together. And so just highlighting all of that and all the great things that we have in Memphis and all the great stuff that we could have in Memphis or things that we should have, you know, for our kids. And it's basically focusing, we almost out of here. We about to check out now, Mike. We about to go, we about to see Jesus in a little while. Not right now, but I'm just saying, we old, you know, and we want our kids, we don't want nobody taking care of us that don't know what they're doing.
Right.
So we got to educate these kids now. So when we get to the point we're real old, then at least we got somebody know what they're doing, taking care of us. These kids don't know nothing.
Right.
They can't read. Some of these kids can't read at the second grade level. So it's up to us as leaders to change that. You know, we got to change that. And that's some of the things I want to bring to the table with being on a mainstream platform. You know, the politics, of course, we got to deal with politics in our city. Who gonna do it, who not gonna do it? Because a lot of people make promises, broken dreams, empty promises, and we never get what we asking for, or we never get what they say they're gonna do. They end up disappointing us. You're a disappointment now. When you got you in here, you're a disappointment. And so we need to change that. Like you said with Mike, I would have loved if Mike would have ran for mayor this time, because this time is a totally different ball game. And I think that we can do it. And I think that he could win, but he don't want to do it.
I know. He's worked hard though, so he deserves to have a break himself.
Yeah, he does. But I really, in my spirit, I think that if he would run, he would win.
I agree. This past August 29th, talking about Ethan, he celebrated his 8th birthday, and you said, quote, "Heaven sent me a wonderful, very special, beautiful gift," unquote. And you also have said of him, quote, "My birthday boy's favorite breakfast, blueberry pancakes, cheese, eggs, and bacon. Yum." Tell us more about Ethan and your daughter Muff too.
Ethan is a particular, something right with him. Something right with Ethan. Something right with Ethan. Ethan is an amazing kid. Very smart, very articulate, always learning. And if he don't know it, he gonna go back and figure it out. He's that kind of kid that his brain works continuously. He reads on a 10th grade level and his math is 9th grade. And he loves science. He's not he's not a sports kid. He loves chess, but he's not a sports kid. Right. So I said, where did this kid come from? all my kids hood. Where did this kid come from? But he learns things. And so anything that he's interested in, he learns it. He makes things work from his phone. Like he has a train set that he operates from his phone and he works it. And whatever he's doing is working. And so he works my TVs from his phone. And so he finds different things to do. Like one day I was watching TV before I figured out what he was doing, Mike. He was laying on my floor by my wall laughing at me. But I didn't know what he was doing. I kind of figured it out later on. And I was watching CSI. CSI is my show, Mike. I was watching CSI and all of a sudden it switched to Paw Patrol. And so I said, that ain't CSI. And I looked at the mic. I looked at the remote. So I was like, I put the remote down. I said, okay. So it flipped back to CSI. Here I go, watching CSI again. I laid back at CSI. All of a sudden, it flipped back to Paw Patrol. And I said, there's ghosts in here. So I'm looking around. I'm thinking it's going to start punching buttons and moving. And then all of a sudden, I hear, I said, Ethan, come in here. I said, is you changing my TV? He said, yeah, right here from my phone.
Wow.
I thought he was over there dying laughing. I thought I was seeing a ghost. I said, I'm gonna hurt you. I'm gonna hurt you real bad. So Ethan is just he's just inquisitive. He just want to know everything, but very smart, very intelligent. And he's different from any kid that I know. Kids just growing up, his favorite, most kids have their idols are, TV hosts, TV people on TV or rappers or that kind of stuff. My kid is different. His idols is Yasher from 13. He loves Jeremy Pierre. He loves John from ABC News. He loves Rudy from ABC News because he watches all the news stations and he knows them all. So when he met John, he fell on the floor. It was like, I can't believe it's John. And so all of us at the station like, okay. I said, baby, he excited because those are his idols. He wants to be like them. He wants to be a meteorologist. And so he watched Yasha and Jeremy, and he just watched them all. He flicks to all the news stations and he watches all of the meteorologists and the reporters because those are his idols. He's just different. And so one kid that lives down the street from us, he was rapping. I don't know what he was rapping, some rap song. And so he told my son that they were standing outside, he was riding his hoverboard and they was asking him, they said, you know how to rap? He said, yeah, I know how to rap. They said, say your rap. He said, Paw Patrol, be here on the double. I said, I don't think that's rap. That's his rap, Paw Patrol, be here on the double. So that's the kind of kid Ethan is. Muff is, she's my special child. She's autistic. She ran a fever when she was 2 years old of 109 degrees. And it destroyed her whole brain. And for 7 years, she couldn't walk or talk. They told me she would never walk or talk. They told me she would be almost like a vegetable, but not quite. When she started walking at 7 years old, she started saying little words at 7 years old because I even started learning sign language so that I could communicate with her. And one day she normally when she wants something to eat, she would tap on me if I'm asleep to wake me up and she'll say, Mom, I want to eat, and she'll go, eat, or she wants some more. So I started learning sign language so that I could communicate with her. And so one day she tapped on me and she said, Ma, I'm hungry. Me, Mike, I looked at her. I said, she didn't say that. I turned back over. She tapped me again. Ma, I'm hungry. I said, she hungry. I said, she said she hungry. So I run downstairs because my son is downstairs. My oldest son, he downstairs. So I said, Denzel, get up. And he's like, what? I said, Muff can talk. And he's like, Muff can't talk, Mama. Mama Muff ain't talked in 7 years. Mom, she can't talk. I said, yes, she can. She said she hungry. And so my son said, Mama, she can't talk. I said, yes, she can, Denzel. She can talk. I heard her. So I said, come here. So he comes upstairs and he says, Muff, what's wrong? She said, I'm hungry, Denzel. She said, Mama, she can talk. She can talk. So now he's jumping all over the place. So I called my mama. My mama get on the phone. She crying. I called my sisters. She get on the phone. She crying. For we realized Muff ain't ate in 3 hours. She's still hungry.
That's funny.
She's still hungry. So my son said, Mama, I think she's still hungry. It's been 3 hours. I said, you sure right. Let's feed her. Let's feed her. And so she is she's my heart. She's my everything. And they told us that she wouldn't live to see 16 because she has brain deterioration. She and so when they told us that cerebral atrophy, and so when they told us she had cerebral atrophy, I went into a depression for about a year because I couldn't sleep because I kept watching her. And so by the time she got ready to turn 16 years old, I just kept watching her. I hadn't slept in a whole year because I just wanted to, I just didn't want to miss it. And so when she turned 16, she was still here. So I was like, she's still here. She's 16. So the day after 16, she was still here. So every day she was waking up. And so I was like, she's still here. She's waking up. She's still here. So we still go to the MRIs and we still get the scans and we still take the medicine because she's autistic. She's asthmatic, epilepsy. She has scoliosis and she still has the brain, the cerebral atrophy. So now they gave us to 30, that she will live to see 30. And so that's the life expectancy that they gave us now. But I believe God because she's still here and she's 24, and so she's my special baby. She cussed though. Oh, she can cuss, Mike. She can cuss. Oh, wait. She can cuss. So the day that Ethan blew up my microwave, I couldn't even get mad because Muff was too busy cussing. I couldn't get mad because Muff said, "Oh, Ethan, Mom gonna whoop your ass. She gonna whoop your ass. She gonna whoop your ass." So I couldn't even get mad because Muff was still cussing like, "Oh, you finna get it." So that is some of the fun things I have with my kids. And then one day, and Muffin and Ethan gets along so well, Mike, they took 2 big old bottles of baby powder. They trying to sabotage, Mike. I think trying to sabotage. They're trying to drive me crazy. I think my kids, they plot on me. I'm telling you, Mike, they plot on me. 2 big old bottles of baby powder. And they go in the room, and I know they quiet, Mike. They quiet. They too quiet. And when my kids get too quiet, something ain't right. So I said, they too quiet back there. What they doing? So I opened the door, Mike, and my whole face was white. Poof, powder in my face. Oh, Mike, I was mad. Whole room full of powder. They making angels in the room. Oh, and then when I opened the door, both of them just stopped and looked at me. They both white. I said, oh, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. I was so mad. It took me literally an hour to calm down. I had to go in the room, just sit down and grab me a glass of wine. And I just sat there. Both of them still sitting in the same. They never moved out that space. They never moved because they knew they was in for it. They was like, oh, she gonna get her. She gonna get me. I came back in there. They were still in there. I said, good, don't move. I'll be back. I made them sit in there for 3 hours because I was mad. But those are the kind of things that my kids do. And I love, my kids are my world, Mike. They my world. Well, they got a whooping a few weeks ago because they made a slippery slide in my hallway with dishwashing liquid. But we ain't gonna talk about that because I'm gonna get mad again. I'm gonna get mad. Dishwashing liquid sliding down my hallway. Oh my God. They trying to kill me. They trying to kill me slowly but slowly, Mike. They trying to kill me. They trying to kill me. But that's my kids. That's Muff and Ethan. Those are my babies.
What are the most important lessons that you've learned in your life?
Now, that's a really good question. The most important lesson that I learned in my life is silence is the best revenge of all times. If you stay silent, everything else will play in place. That was the biggest lesson, Mike, I had to learn was to shut up. No matter how much I want to snap off, I had to learn to just shut up. That was the biggest lesson that I had to learn.
It's a great lesson.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you and I met about, I guess it was probably about 7 years ago at an event at my old store, Sleepy Z's, you know, when we did events with the police department and everything. And we met through Mike Williams, and that's, you know, our mutual friend. And you know, once again, I talk about the no coincidences, how things happen. And I really enjoy talking to you today. And I learned so many things about you that I didn't know, and so many fun things. And that's just such an exciting thing. And I'm really excited for your new show, you know, starting once again on Saturday, October 1st, from 10 to 11 a.m. on CW-30. You can catch the Towanna Murphy Show every Saturday from 10 to 11 on CW-30. And I know that it's going to be really successful for you. So everybody needs to definitely check that out. I really appreciate you coming on today. This has been a lot of fun.
Yes, I enjoyed it. Thank you, Mike, for having me. I want to bring you on my show.
I would love to. Just let me know.
Just tell me which one you want to come on, CW-30 or SVP, because I'm on SVP still on Wednesday nights.
Awesome. Thanks again, Towanna.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.